But it is definitely great to be back with my colleagues. We're all there. We're all socially distanced. The woodwinds and brass are all in the back. Everybody, I'm Joseph Conyers, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me today. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Today is a talking video, but I've got videos of me playing, of me talking, and you're just going to want to check out some really cool stuff behind the scenes of being an orchestral musician and orchestra life in general. So there's that. You're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because there might be a little treat back there. And don't just fast forward to the end of the video. You know, that's just tacky. That's what we say in the South, tacky. So we are back in Verizon Hall. The Philadelphia Orchestra, for the first time since March 12th, is performing in our home, Verizon Hall at the Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts. March 12th was the last day we played. It was a crazy day because we showed up to work. The pandemic was just beginning to go, and after rehearsal, they told us the concert might be canceled, and then they said, well, we might do it without an audience. We didn't know what was gonna happen, but they told us to be prepared. They even recorded the rehearsal in case they were gonna use that as some kind of footage. We were still able to meet on stage. We recorded without an audience, and that video has probably at this point been viewed nearly 1 million times by folks all around the world. We played Beethoven's 5th Symphony and 6th Symphony in that performance. And that was the last time we were actually in Verizon Hall, the hall itself. And we're back as of November, which is really, really cool. So a little bit about Verizon Hall. Verizon Hall sits in the Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts. What's neat about Verizon Hall is that it's actually a hall within a larger building. So actually the Kimmel Center houses 3 kind of mini halls. There's a Verizon Hall, there's Perlman Theater, and then there's a smaller hall beneath the ground called Innovation Studio. Verizon Hall was built about 20 years ago. And what's neat about that is I came to Philadelphia a little over 20 years ago. I came to Philadelphia in 1999 as a student of the Curtis Institute of Music. And when I started Curtis, the Philadelphia Orchestra still performed in its one and only hall up until that point for over 100 years, was the Academy of Music. So I first heard the Philadelphia Orchestra at the Academy of Music in the acoustic that helped shape the Philadelphia sound, which is really, really cool. That hall was dry as the Sahara Desert. It is a beautiful hall, but acoustically for orchestra, I can't believe they play there for 100 years, but what's great about it is when you're playing on the stage of the Academy, because the shell kind of wraps the whole orchestra sound, everything on stage is actually very alive. So a lot of people say they hear the basses more, you can hear the back of the orchestra more, because it's literally the orchestra's in this little shell and that shoots out into the hall. Anyway, the orchestra was there, and in 2001, the Kimmel Center opened up, and that's where the orchestra's been for the last, I can't believe I'm saying this, 20 years. Almost. So we are back. We are playing in the hall. So of course the musicians enter Verizon Hall not through the front door. Yeah, I mean, if we feel particularly special, we might do that. But we do have a security entrance that we do, and that's how I'm used to going to Verizon. Going back, I could tell you about all my colleagues because there are nearly 100 of them. But I'm going to start with the viola gang. So I'll start with C.J. Chang. C.J. Chang is the principal violist of the Philadelphia Orchestra. Fantastic, lovely, wonderful player. And next, who else did I see? Oh, Chae-Hung Chen. Chae-Hung and I were in school together. He may have been a senior or junior when I entered Curtis. But I've known CJ since school, and it's great to be able to play in an orchestra with him. And actually, CJ's actually looking at a recording. I believe that's the one, Deutsche Grammophon, with Trifonov and the Philadelphia Orchestra playing Rachmaninoff's first piano concerto and the third piano concerto, which was just, Chae-Hung didn't know this at the time, just nominated for a Grammy. So there you have it. And then there's Marvin Moon. Marvin and I were also in class together at Curtis and played orchestra concerts together. And now we're playing as professionals, which is very, very cool. Then there's Kate Schimmer. Kate Schimmer is the manager of artistic services for the Philadelphia Orchestra. Kate's fantastic. Kate's energy is so wonderful. She's great to have backstage, and yeah, it's just good energy backstage. And with Kate is our orchestra conducting fellow, Lina Gonzalez Granados.
It's a really nice day to be alive and be here in Philadelphia. I feel so lucky. We're making history and we're backstage with the greatest orchestra in the world. I'm not biased. This is my favorite orchestra.
Right.
Awesome. That is why Marvin Moon was so happy. Yes, the election was called the day, at least called by the media, the day that we were recording. And as for me, as an educator, I would like all my students to understand that with leadership comes a great responsibility, and that any leader should be a shining example of a shining example of humanity, a shining example of compassion and empathy. Because when I feel strongly, if one is president, they have to have all these things, have all those characteristics to not only lead, but be an example. That's the most, I mean, as an educator, that's one of the most important things is who can be an example. So if you want to know who I voted for someone I thought my students might find to be a great example. I wanted to talk about how the orchestra is keeping us safe. The orchestra has gone above and beyond to make sure that the musicians of the orchestra not only feel safe, but are actually safe. This goes from social distancing in the hall. They have extended the stage out halfway into the audience, which actually acoustically is really nice because the hall sounds really good. So like, can we keep it? But we need people to pay for those seats. So, but it actually sounds really nice. But in the lobby of the Kimmel Center, there are different stations. Everyone has their own specific station. Everyone shows up to work at a certain time. Everyone who shows up has gotten a COVID test. And if you're a wind player, you've gotten 2 COVID tests. So they're really making sure they're doing everything they can to keep us completely separated. We are not using like our normal lockers at work. It's like a whole new experience just so to make sure we're all separated and can be as safe as possible to bring our concerts to you. And hopefully we can get those, a link to the concerts in the bio, not my bio, wrong platform, in the description below on this YouTube channel, so you can check out all the mini concerts that we're playing. I'll talk about those in a second. Norma, she's here, waiting for me. And we're about to go to the hall. So I grabbed Norma and we walked. And then on stage, you can see that extension I was talking about. You can see the sound barriers they have. Well, I called them sound barriers because that's actually what they are. They're the plexiglass to block from the virus in case it's like floating around, even though we all get our tests. But they end up being sound barriers. And we've been so far apart, even in our hall, it's almost like there are 2 different orchestras going on at the same time. Has it been challenging? Absolutely. Doing these programs are stressful because not only are we doing them in a short amount of time, we are literally rehearsing and then recording basically at the same time. And so it can be very stressful because sometimes that run-through take might be bits and pieces of that might make the finals. So it's still work and it's still a job and we're still expected to perform at a certain level. But it is definitely great to be back with my colleagues. We're all there, we're all socially distanced. The woodwinds and brass are all in the back, as you can see. We're also being recorded for these. So if you've seen the footage, it's really, really nice. As a matter of fact, I think the boom camera and I actually had a moment where our 2 pieces of technology got to connect. We are conducted by our, of course, music director Yannick Nezes again, and then Irina Yashima, who is our assistant conductor, did a lot of work with us in those 2 weeks as well, and also Lena Gonzalez Granados also did a lot of work with us, and they all did different things. I didn't play every single concert, but because the bases are a little down, I did play a lot of the concerts. So I played Jesse Montgomery Starburst. I played Bizet Symphony in C. I did Mahler 4, the chamber version, which is very, very nice. Nutcracker, a selection from Nutcracker for a kids concert. Haydn's Symphony 44, Trower, which is a great piece. It's actually one of my favorite Haydn symphonies. And we also did a piece by Chevalier de Saint-Georges, also known as Joseph Bologne, who's a contemporary of Mozart. So to wrap up this video, I thought I'd talk briefly about one of the composers that we played, Chevalier de Saint-Georges, and I'm probably butchering that. It's French, I can't say French. Also Joseph Bologne, but also with the controversial nickname as the Black Mozart. While some people might call Mozart the white Chevalier de Saint-Georges. I could probably do a whole nother video on the little research I've done on him, but he was not only a prolific composer, but he was kind of the stud of France, to be honest. So he was born in Guadeloupe. His father was white. His mother was the slave of his wife while they're in Guadeloupe. His father really wanted Joseph to grow up in an environment where he had as much opportunity as possible. So he started fencing at an early age while he was growing up in France and became a champion fencer. Ended up beating like the biggest fencer in all of Europe. I mean, it sounds like I'm making this stuff up, but it's pretty incredible. And I think probably for that and many other reasons, he was definitely known as a ladies' man. Mozart and Joseph Bologne lived in the same house, I believe, for 2 years together. And there are pieces that Joseph Bologne wrote that some have wondered if they influenced the music of Mozart. It's crazy to even think about. And he just grew and grew in fame and prestige in France, but also Europe. But I think one of the things that makes it crazy is because voices, musicians, particularly if they weren't European or of European descent, were sometimes put in the background. Maybe not sometimes, were oftentimes put in the background. And even someone with the prestige and the repute of Joseph Bologne, who was up to be like the chief conductor of the biggest opera house in Paris. And he was denied that because it's on record, like I believe it was 2 of the soloists singing said something like, I could never dare be conducted by a mulatto. If you don't know what a mulatto is, it's someone of mixed race or mixed heritage. And so he did not get that position. With one of the biggest positions in all of France, for that matter. And so his voice was silenced. In the last 2 weeks, one of the most impactful or reflective moments for me was actually playing his music in Verizon Hall with the music director of the Philadelphia Orchestra, Yannick. Here we were playing the Second Symphony of Chevalier de Saint-Georges with one of the great orchestras of the world in a great celebration of his music. So that's kind of how I wanted to end today. And this is just a very, very small excerpt. But I know at the completion of this, and even during the rehearsal, that Joseph Bologne was smiling, knowing that his music is seeing the light of day that it deserved to see many, many years ago. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to subscribe. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at Weatherclef. I'm also on Facebook, Joseph Conyers. There are many ways you can look me up, but I hope to be doing more of these vlogging-like videos with time, in addition to the playing videos that you have grown accustomed to love. Have a great day. Peace, love, joy to all of you.